On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we are going to review The Marvels and The Killer. So we'll start off both of those reviews spoiler-free. We'll warn you before we dive into our spoiler discussions. But before that, Holden, we need to also review the Season 2 finale of Loki, perhaps the series finale of Loki. And even before that, Holden, we need to talk about this week's news in the world of entertainment. Some big news this week, lots of trailers. What are some of our stories?
Yeah, so we're going to cover 4 trailers, including Inside Out 2 and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, among others. We're also going to be talking about the SAG-AFTRA strike, which did end earlier this last week, and also some news regarding John Wick 5. Jimmy.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Zesty.
Yeah.
You know,
same.
I like to say zesty, Holden.
And that's one of your, forget adios pantalones. That's your main catchphrase.
All right. As always, use time codes in the description to jump to whatever conversation you are willing to hear. Otherwise, you may fall asleep and you listen to all of it. Otherwise, stick around for the whole thing. Enjoy the ride. Hopefully, we will. I'm buckling up. I'm Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for Tom.
Tom. That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
All right, Jimmy. Before we talk the Marvels or the Killer or even Loki, let's do the Toms.
Let's do the Thomas.
The Toms. Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of 3 famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron somewhere in between.
All right,
Jimmy,
there we go.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, I had to fumble for some Toms, but I think I recovered pretty well.
That's like I'd give that a 95%.
Yeah,
right
there we go.
That's,
Well, that's an A.
Just slight fumble there.
Slight fumble. We recovered by the offensive team.
We did, yeah.
All right, trailers this week. Hold on. Let's start off with Inside Out 2, Upside Down, Inverted, whatever you want to call
Yes.
it. Inside Out 2.
Yeah, the sequel to the Pixar film Inside Out, which came out like nearly a decade ago already. I quite like the first one.
I do too.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would say it's one of my favorite Pixar movies, but I think it was very creative and had a lot of cool ideas, and of course looked great as always. Good voice cast. And I think there's a lot you can do with a sequel to this concept, especially since the girl in the first movie was probably 10, 11. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around that age. So, as she gets older, there's more to do. But what do you think of this trailer?
I think it looks good. I mean, I'm anxious to see it, Holden. Oh, there we go.
Because anxiety is one of the new emotions. She's got a lot of baggage.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I didn't even pick up on that. Although that's good Pixar kind of visual gags, or just their little creative gags that they do. So I am looking forward to it a lot. I do like that first one. It's grown on me quite a bit. It's actually the first movie I've ever watched with Emily, my wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's history there.
And I didn't really like it that time, honestly. But I did see it again, and I liked it more. And I actually might be rewatching it next week at school. So nice. I think the score is quite good. I think it's got quite a few funny moments. My mind goes to like when the boy sees like the girl and it's like girl, and they're all freaking out. It's kind of like the good SpongeBob. We threw out his name.
That was something that I remember being surprised about that movie is all the different versions of those emotions and the different people. So I thought that was really creative how they did that, and I liked how the dad was just them with like a mustache. It was like the same. They looked the same.
Not Goofball Island or whatever. I really like that story, and it's grown on me quite a bit. My brother, we were talking about because I think we were talking about sequels or Pixar somehow, and he went on the record of saying Inside Out and Ratatouille are his 2 favorites.
Oh, wow. Ratatouille is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it. All I remember is I killed the man with this thumb.
That's pretty good.
And then he like hits the guy out with this thumb or whatever.
That's right.
But I need to rewatch Ratatouille, but The Incredibles for me.
Yeah, so that's my favorite.
Is my favorite. But I'm excited for this. I'm giving it a Brokaw, Holden.
I think I'll give it a Brokaw too. Looks very good. Pixar animation is, very good as always.
Yeah,
So,
of the trailers we're going to talk about today, this is clearly the one I'm most interested in and excited about.
yeah, I think I'd probably agree with that. But then our next trailer we'll talk about, which Jimmy is probably not that super excited for, is the Avatar: The Last Airbender live-action Netflix show.
Hey, it looks decent.
Yeah.
I've never seen the show. Why would I watch this before I just watched the animated one? So that's why I'm going to give it a Bergeron. We know the creators aren't involved. We were kind of talking about that potentially being a bad thing, but this looks like it's decently well done. I think people like One Piece, right? I know
people
this
like
is
One
not
Piece.
like technically an anime. But,
Yeah, anime influence, but not like from Japan.
I think it looks good for what it is. I just am not the target audience for it because I would rather just watch the original cartoon first and then see it. So maybe
Absolutely. I agree.
I think Emily would be interested in watching that. So I think we'll just watch it together at some point.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think production value wise, it looks great. There's obviously a ton of money behind it. I think all of the costumes and sets that are shown off, which I mean, the majority of the trailer is just showing off how it looks, not much story wise or character wise, but I think they got all of it just very accurately. I think they translated really well to the big screen, or rather small screen, the TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks very cool. The creators not being involved, I've been like reading into it, and some people are upset about that, but some people are also like, well, they were involved with the Shyamalan movie, apparently. So who knows? I mean, if the people behind this have a passion for the show, I am not sure that really matters too much. Regardless, looks great. Casting looks cool. We'll see more as more comes out about it, but I'll definitely watch it. And I think it has to be said that this is a series that has a very rabid fan base about it that was very criticizes everything. And general reaction seems to be pretty positive towards this so far.
Nice.
So yeah. So I broke off from me.
There you go.
But next trailer is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Oh, yeah. Everybody remembered that this movie was coming out.
Yeah. The sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, which came out a couple years ago. Everyone's favorite. Was it 2021 or 2022? I think it was 2021.
2020.
Right?
I just remember at the end of that movie, they go into a room where it's like every 27 years or something, but then it's just like a gap. It's like 28 years or so. Like it's like clearly they changed the number on the wall to fit the fact that it was like delayed for a year.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember that movie at all. I'm like, Finn Wolfhard is in this.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, the only thing I remember is Paul Rudd in the Walmart.
I remember Paul Rudd was funny, and then he was just like gone for like a big chunk of the movie.
He showed the kids Cujo in class. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was good. Boy, I do not recall that first movie.
Yeah.
I don't care about this. It looks fine.
Ghosts have ice powers now.
Yeah, cool. Bergeron.
Yeah.
For me. I'm just like I don't think it looks necessarily bad. I just am like I don't really care about Ghostbusters. I have no nostalgia with Ghostbusters. And that first movie was fine, and I enjoyed parts of it, and other parts I was like, this is fine.
Yeah, Ghostbusters, and I seem to recall maybe saying something similar when we reviewed the last movie, but it's like the weirdest like franchise. It's just as bizarre because like the first movie most people like well enough and everything, but then
it's fine.
Yeah, but then you don't like the original.
I'm like it's fine.
I feel like we talked about that. I do.
Didn't
I
we
do
review it? Did we review it when we did Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Well, we did Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm not sure we did like the original.
I think I watched it in preparation.
Maybe we did both. I can't remember. I quite like the original, but then the others, it's just been like not very good to mediocre. So not a very big range there, but nothing very, very positive, I would say. But yeah, I don't know. It looks fine. We'll probably watch it because it's going to be a big movie that comes out, and we thought the last one was fine, nothing harmful. Yeah, I don't know. Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt are in this one too, I guess.
Yeah,
so
I like them.
Yeah, they're cool.
But yeah, it's got people I like in it, so I like that. My big gripe with the Ghostbusters Afterlife is they insinuate that the pyramids were built by slaves, which they were not.
I don't remember that. But I guess
they were not built by slaves.
I forgot there's the one kid named Podcast.
Yeah. Because he thinks the pyramids are built by aliens.
Oh, that okay. He's the one who thinks
which they're also not built by aliens. We're pretty sure it was just Egyptian workers who were pretty well fed, actually, and had decent housing and were buried in respectable tombs.
Either you bring that up to me a lot in conversation, or you've brought this up on this podcast several times. And I think it's just funny you keep bringing it up, if anything.
I bring it up in class because all of my kids are like, what, they weren't built by slaves? I'm like, yeah, that's right. So when you go Ghostbusters Afterlife, I remember when it first came out, I was like, you guys got to go to this movie theater and you got to respectfully stand up and say that is actually factually inaccurate. And explain, when did that, 2021, right? I'll find this. It was like the summer.
Figure this out.
The summer of 2021. Holden, we've been doing this show for too long. There it is.
No, I don't.
We didn't do it. I must have just watched it in preparation.
I definitely also watched
107 people have listened to that one. Oh, because we talked about The Room. Yeah, when we went to The Room. That was fun. Yeah. At the State Theater.
That was good. Yeah, this is a Bergeron, though. Ghostbusters, whatever. It'll be fine.
Ghostbusters, whatever. That should have been it'll be fine. I said Bergeron already. I want to hold it up again because it's an emphatic Bergeron, a nice high definition Bergeron.
Yes.
It looks like my face when I do that. Holden. There we go.
All right, and our final trailer, I will say, though, I should have mentioned this at the start of trailers. There's like 3 or 4 other trailers that have come out this week, and we're just pushing them towards next week because this is already going to be a long episode. And so, yeah, maybe that'll be a mistake, and we'll get another 10 trailers before the next episode. We'll see.
It is, it's your fault. And if it's not, Holden, it is your success. Congratulations.
Yes, I took a risk here.
Golf clap for you.
But anyway, final trailer we're talking about this week is Mean Girls.
Wow, another thing I don't care about, Bergeron. That first movie's all right. It's good. I can
like
see
the
why
first movie a lot.
If I would have grown up with it more, I would have liked it more. It's a solid movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I first watched it in high school or something, maybe. But I've really liked it just since then. It's very quotable. It just seems to be quite
it's like such a 2000s.
It is very. There's some stuff that isn't very, it's kind of dated in it, but
I mean it encapsulates that era so well. Like like we grew up in it. Like, and then it's like, yeah, that's yeah, that's right.
And it's got some great performances too, great cast.
And it even has Lindsay Lohan. Like,
as the main character. that was like Rachel McAdams, one of her first big roles too. But this is a remake based on the Broadway musical of the same name, which I've listened to the soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack was pretty good. I did that a couple years ago. And I think it's coming actually here to Sioux Falls in April, but getting this movie before then, looks fine.
I don't care. We're not going to watch this whole. I'm not going to review this movie.
You don't want to review it?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, it comes out in January. There's not much else that comes out then.
I'd rather do something else. I'm like, it's Mean Girls, but it's a musical.
What if it's
I don't have anything to say.
What if it's really good?
I don't have any. What perspective am I going to offer it as someone who doesn't really care about the original movie and now it's a musical? Cool. Great for the people.
Maybe you
who care.
like this one more.
I don't. Okay, I'll be open to it. Hold it.
Yeah,
I'll say that I'm open to it.
We're not going to commit.
I would highly rather prefer.
We won't commit to reviewing Mean Girls, but that being said, I will watch it.
You will watch it,
yeah, because I quite like the original movie, and as I said, I like the soundtrack. The cast looks very good. The weird thing about the trailer is it doesn't showcase any of the actual music.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? Like, it's a musical, and when we watched it in the theater, I'm like, is this a sequel? Is this a remake? What is this? I'm like, it's just called Mean Girls.
Yeah.
But then there's a music. I'm like, why is there a music note? And then you explained it to me. I'm like, I would not have known that from that trailer. I think it does say something in this trailer.
So the short thing, the short trailer we've seen now like twice in theaters is a little bit different than this one, and it actually does have some of the music from the show in it. And I don't really understand why they don't just play some of it in the trailer unless they think it's like really bad. I saw this meme that was comparing it to Wonka because Wonka also doesn't have any music and apparently it's a musical.
Really?
It like doesn't have any music in the trailers.
Well, you know what we should do? If we do see this, we should do a double feature of Mean Girls and The Nice Guys.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Polar opposites. There you go.
Yeah, Bergeron for me still.
Bergeron for me as well, Jimmy.
Well, thank goodness. three movies or three things I couldn't really care less about, and I'm excited
Are you
for
upset
Inside
we didn't
Out 2.
talk about Garfield?
I didn't even know that was a thing. My head's been under a rock for a week.
Fair enough. But Jimmy, we have other news to talk about. And the big thing is that the SAG-AFTRA strike is now over, Jimmy. That being the actors' strike.
Yeah, it's ended happily ever after.
Yeah.
Good one, Mark.
It seems to be that the actors, and obviously they're the ones that came out with the statement. So it seems like they're very pleased with how the terms they ended on. So I listed some of the ones.
And ended with the trial by combat. Did you hear that?
Oh, did it?
Yeah, Bob Iger came out. It was Bob Iger versus Brie Larson.
Who won? I guess Brie Larson.
Brie
right?
Larson did. Yeah. Wow. She humiliated him.
I haven't heard from my friend Bob Iger in like a week, so that makes sense, huh?
And she said, Bob Chapek is stronger than you, Bob Iger. And he said, you wouldn't. I am the superior Bob.
And then he wasn't.
No, he was not.
But anyway, here's some of the terms regarding the SAG-AFTRA strike. So one of the big things that people were that was being discussed was AI. So it seems for AI that any digital likeness has required consent now on part of either the actor or their estate, with detailed provisions that prevent signing your likeness away for good. And there's also, it seems there's going to be fair compensation per use. It wasn't exactly detailed as to what exactly that means, but Fran Drescher, who's the kind of the head person of SAG-AFTRA, implied that it was going to be equivalent to like the amount an actor would normally be paid on set, like for like a day's work or whatever, however long.
If their likeness is used?
Yeah, however that spreads out. In terms of
so
like
you were in 4 minutes of this movie, and that usually 4 minutes is about like 3 days of work,
something like that. Yeah,
boy, that doesn't seem like anything that can be manipulated.
I
at
know,
all.
but on paper sounds okay, at least for now. There also included wage increases for actors across the board, increased compensation for actors working in streaming, kind of like those residuals that the writers, similar thing that they got.
Mm-hmm.
Terms that ensure proper hair and makeup services for everyone, including those with diverse hair and complexions. And also a requirement that intimacy coordinators be hired for sex and nudity scenes. So those seem to be the big ones. There's a lot of numbers you can go into in terms of the wage increases and whatnot. You can find those online very easily, but that's just kind of the broad strokes of it, Jimmy.
Cool. I'm not a labor expert. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about this, so I'm going to give it a brokaw. Woo, because movies are back and actors are getting paid more.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a brokaw because, they ratified it, seemed to be, they're at least somewhat pleased with it, and it seems to be, at least, if nothing else, a better situation they were in than before. So
I can't wait till they just generate people who don't exist as AI and use them as extras and don't pay any actors who aren't big star names.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. But
until then, here we go. Hollywood's back,
yeah,
baby.
Woo! And that's also why I believe there's so much news this week, is because now everyone can talk about everything.
Yes.
So, anyway, Marvel also
never heard of them.
Yeah, don't know anything about them. They adjusted their release schedule a bit. So Deadpool 3 is now the only movie coming out next year in July.
In general, just no other movies.
Yeah,
just Deadpool.
Yeah, no, it's the only Marvel movie.
Gotta wait till 2025, baby.
Dang it.
Get
Venom
that
3.
Get that Lego ornithopter to hold you.
Kraven the Hunter.
Oh no!
Delayed another year.
Was it actually?
No, it wasn't.
No.
This is just
wishful
MCU
thinking.
stuff.
Hold on, don't get my hopes up.
But then Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and Blade were all delayed to throughout 2025.
Wow, great.
So
Brokaw, those movies. I am excited for Deadpool 3. I can't wait for Deadpool 3 to do very well. Marvel will be like, oh yeah, we're back. And then nobody wants to see those other three movies.
Yeah.
Potentially Blade.
Yeah. I feel like people might see unless it looks horrible.
I can't wait for Captain America to bomb. And they're like, oh my gosh, one of our 10-pole franchises just bombed. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
good thing we had that insanely mediocre TV show to bridge
good
this
thing
gap.
We had the insanely successful Marvels movie to hold us, tide us over. Anyway, but next up, Jimmy, big piece of news here.
Oh yeah.
So
I heard about this.
Yeah. So there's a movie. I feel like I may have mentioned it once at some point on the podcast here, but Warner Bros. Had a movie called Coyote versus Acme coming out, which was a live action animated hybrid film. But they canceled it for a tax write off, Jimmy.
They did the
Batgirl, yeah,
right.
Which I was reading. I didn't confirm exactly like the quote that this was from, but I was reading a couple articles that claimed that apparently they had like promised they weren't gonna like do that anymore or something, or at least in this way or in some similar way.
A corporation broke a promise, Olin. I cannot imagine.
But the movie starred John Cena and was written by James Gunn, which was I didn't know that prior to this news.
Or at least partially written.
Yeah, at least partially written by James Gunn. And apparently got some very positive test screenings. I don't think it's like fully completed. It's at least fully filmed, and I think a lot of the post-production has been done on it. But as of last night, a little extra development, it was leaked that they are now planning on shopping it around to other studios or platforms following backlash. Some of the top people seem to be Amazon, Apple, and Netflix. And apparently following the news of this, like getting canned, one of the reasons why they backed out a little bit on it was because several filmmakers that were like, had lined up meetings, like called their reps and just canceled meetings with Warner Bros.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like you cannot do this.
Yeah.
You can't like in a vacuum, a business standpoint, if you're just looking at numbers, and you're not like no art, no integrity, no people pouring their souls into this and have passion for this, if you're just like, okay, well, to release this film that we've already invested X amount of money into, now we're gonna have to invest another amount of money into the marketing and stuff. And how much is that? How much are we actually going to get back at that point? And is that going to offset what we would just get in a tax write-off? And if the tax write-off's more, okay, in a vacuum where you take out all those other factors, that makes sense. But that's not reality. It's not just crunching numbers. It's not just an accounting thing. The long term, that's incredible. Like so many of these, so many things that have happened recently. When I think of, there was a big disagreement in Major League Baseball when COVID happened between the Players Association and the league, and like so many of these disagreements and strikes and stuff, it's so short-sighted, and like people's lacking a view of the long-term solutions or whatever, television deals and all these things. It's like people will do anything to get money now as opposed to lay the foundation for a financially stable future. And this just seems like one of those things. Like I am some executive trying to cover my butt now to guarantee my job now, instead of actually taking care of my company and the best interest of the company and the industry in the long term. Which if you're going to just be this morally bankrupt for creating this art, right? Entertainment. I mean, come on. Like if you do this, if you keep doing the Batgirl thing to all these movies, people are not going to work for you anymore.
Because then their work is just not going to be put out there, or, their work is not entirely guaranteed, like in terms of payment or whatever. Like there's a lot of factors that go into that. And so it totally makes sense. You'd have these filmmakers that, don't really want to work with you. Yeah.
It just really hurts your reputation. Or the people who do work for you are just not going to try as hard. Like, I don't know. It just seems like a very, very crappy thing to do, especially since this movie is apparently good.
Yeah, it's apparently good. And the other thing I want to add on to this is like James Gunn is attached to it, who is literally like one of your people.
Yeah, literally running DCU.
Yeah, your DC studios, which I'm sure, I don't know, who knows if James Gunn is super passionate about this movie or anything, but I'm sure he doesn't,
I think he's a producer.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't, at the very least want to see it go the way of just being completely canceled. So, you're not fostering any goodwill there.
Well, he's got a lot of leverage. He should just say, release it or I walk.
Yeah, right.
DCU, not doing it. Superman Legacy, not doing it.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of leverage if he really wanted to do that. I just think that it's dumb. The premise is like, isn't it the Wile E. Coyote What is the premise again? He actually like
Is it like a trial or something?
files a law.
Yeah, I think there's like
It's like something like a product that he used to try to get Roadrunner like didn't work and caused him a lot of. It was a very creative concept.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I think it is like it maybe partially courtroom drama, like comedy thing where there's a lawsuit.
It sounded
involved or
very
something.
creative, and I want to see this movie, especially considering it's good.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Bombadil that they would do this.
Yeah.
Think it's
Bombadil that it was getting written off for taxes. I'll give it a bro cod to that they're at least giving it a shot at other places.
Yeah.
So maybe
Sell
average
it.
a Bergeron.
Sell it.
But yeah, sell it. I don't know.
Sell the team. It's like all these owners who are like, well, if you don't build me a new stadium, taxpayers, I'm just going to leave for another city.
Yeah, that's true. Even I didn't know that as not a sport person. Yeah. But anyway, Jimmy, that's it for that. But next piece of news, live action Legend of Zelda movie is in the works, Jimmy.
Didn't we already know this?
I think they've said that there's like multiple like Nintendo movies in the works. Okay. But Shigeru Miyamoto, the series creator, confirmed via Twitter this week, kind of just like out of nowhere. There was no like build up to it or anything, or it wasn't part of a Nintendo event or anything. But he confirmed via Twitter that it's being worked on over at Sony. Avi Arad is going to be producing it. Wes Ball is the director who's doing the new Apes movie.
Yeah, and he did the Maze Runner ones.
Yeah, so
what a time to be Wes Ball.
Yeah, he's getting busy in Hollywood, I guess. And Derek Connolly is screenwriter, who did all of the Jurassic World movies. So
wow,
oof. He did do Detective Pikachu, which was all right.
I liked that until the end.
Sure. And he also, I mean, this is a movie that we never saw. He did the Duel of the Fates script with Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah, which is better than what we got.
Rise of Skywalker.
Forgot what that movie was called for a second.
But then, Wes Ball, we'll see. I mean, I think Apes, how that does and is will kind of depend on my opinion of this or him being director on this. Avi Arad's well known for being producer on a lot of Spider-Man stuff for Sony, a lot of bad Spider-Man stuff for Sony. From what I understand, he's like one of the main reasons why both the Maguire and Garfield universes he was like the studio interference that messed both of those up. So that's kind of mixed. I mean, he did produce, he was at least a producer on Spider-Verse, which is good, but what do you think? Have any thoughts on this, Jimmy?
I don't have any attachment to this franchise yet. So, I dropped my
Get a Switch,
Bergeron. Been thinking about it.
Yeah. I think I'll give it a Bergeron too, because the people involved kind of mixed on. If Nintendo is happy with it, the Mario movie was all right. So hopefully it's at least all right. It is weird that it's Sony making it, which I know like Sony Pictures and Sony Entertainment are kind of separate, but it's still like bizarre.
Yeah.
It's that, but
because they make PlayStation.
They make PlayStation, yeah. To clarify.
There we go.
But anyway, final piece of news I have for this week, Jimmy. John Wick 5 is apparently currently being written, according to Lionsgate chair Joe Drake. Apparently, they started working on it right before the writer's strike and have resumed writing since it ended. What do you think of that?
I'm at a Bergeron because I think they should. My tentative standpoint is they should end at 4.
Yeah.
So I'm at a Bergeron. But if they somehow continue the trend of them continuing to get better, I will be amazed.
Yeah. It also kind of depends, I think, on is Chad Stahelski going to be involved? I assume, if they're calling it John Wick, I assume Keanu Reeves is involved. Will be involved.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So Bergeron for that.
There we go.
But Jimmy, I think that's it for news this week.
Yeah.
I had more, but I shoved it to next week.
There we go. So, next week, more
we'll
news.
A lot too.
All right. Well, it'll be old news.
It will be old.
There
news.
we go. That's exciting. Quick little TOMPeyes, Holden. What do we want to say about TOMPeyes this week? It was very slow.
Very slow.
We had
to
slow.
rush eating. It was maybe the slowest Popeyes has ever been for at least our pre-movie Popeyes sessions. which there were quite a few people there, but I think there were like people that got there after us that got their food before us.
Well, I literally got in line. They ask you classic or spicy, right?
Sure,
I'm
sure.
like, whatever is going to be fastest.
Yeah,
I literally said, and they're like, well, we both are ready. Said, okay, well then I prefer classic if that's okay. Because when it comes out, it doesn't burn as much, to be honest. Even though both are equally tasty. That did not make a difference. It was there and it just sat there while they got everything else ready for a long time. It was, we had to eat Popeyes in like 10 minutes, which
we were
that
rushing.
much grease.
I like
and
giving ourselves
saturated fats and trans fats in 10 minutes does wonders to the digestive system. I will tell you that.
I like giving ourselves a little less, around an hour to eat.
Yeah,
Eat
you
a little slowly.
you gotta like
pace yourself
with the Popeyes. So Popeyes, let's pick it up a little bit, huh?
Yeah. Completely unrelated to this, I will say I had A&W chicken strips earlier this week, and they were horrible.
Yeah, well, I can imagine.
I had never had like A&W fast food before.
Do they still have A&Ws in Sioux Falls?
I think they have that. There's that one like on
KFC. mixer?
KFC, A&W, but I think that's the only one.
I still haven't been to KFC since I was in China.
Yeah, same.
Can't escape
Popeyes all the way.
Can't escape the Colonel's gaze in China.
Popeyes and then Slim's as a backup.
Yeah, Popeyes chicken.
So good.
I always say Popeyes giveth and Popeyes taketh away. But
really
man,
do.
when we got that food, was it good?
It was good.
Oh, it was so good.
I got a nice serving of fries.
Yeah, the extra basket.
Got a good non-soapy biscuit.
Oh,
And then the
Good chicken.
tenders were decent size. They weren't the biggest or smallest I'd had, so just nice size tenders.
well, my chicken was the size that it always is because it's fried
Yeah,
chicken.
you got the fried wings.
Because
so.
I'm a purist, Holden. Got to get with that Louisiana kitchen chicken.
Sure.
All right, that's it for TOMPeyes this week. We got to talk about the season or potentially series finale of Loki.
Yes.
Which is titled
Glorious Purpose.
Glorious Purpose.
Yes.
Spoiler discussion coming right after this.
All right, spoilers for Loki Season 2, Episode 6, titled Glorious Purpose.
You mean snee?
what?
That was me saying it in reverse, but I was just making random noises.
Oh, okay, yeah. Someone should play that back.
Yeah.
See if you did that, it'd
If
be
I
pretty
did
impressive.
that would be
I
pretty
know
incredible.
someone who can sing Happy Birthday completely perfectly backwards.
That's
like
incredible.
inflection and everything. It's insane. Anyway, this is very good.
Yeah, I thought it was very good.
This was a really good episode. Very good finale. Best finale out of any of the Marvel shows,
Clearly,
I think.
yeah.
Like even Loki season 1 is clearly the
Yeah.
best one.
That's not a huge bar.
No,
That's
it's
really
not.
high bar.
Loki season 1 is the bar, and it was good, but it was probably one of the weakest episodes of that season. And yeah, I just thought this was a perfect way to wrap up the season and potentially the series. I mean, I don't really see them continuing.
I think the creators said they're done.
Yeah.
They said they were not doing a season 3.
I could
We
see-
aren't anyway.
Yeah, I could
Disney
see
might.
characters from this coming back in some capacity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Loki itself is done. So
I think it should be.
yeah.
Well, but I mean, the whole episode starts with the reverse Marvel logo.
Yep.
The rewound. I thought that was cool. I was like, what is happening? I'm like, oh, it's rewound. That's neat. That's a neat little thing that they did.
That was pretty cool.
But then the first, 20 minutes or so is Loki trying to get the, I want to say flux capacitor. the temporal loom. Yeah. To work.
fixed.
Yeah. To enlarge the rings or whatever. And he's...
Which, yeah, he tries. I mean, he goes back initially and is just trying to rush people through it. He gets Victor Timely already, and then just immediately gets disintegrated. Which
he's
we
getting
get
disintegrated a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was thinking about how that initially in episode 4 contextually was very shocking and kind of disturbing almost, but then they recontextualize it. It's funny in this episode,
Yeah.
because they just keep doing it over and over again.
I'm waiting for the doo 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 doo.
But Yeah, it was fun to see him go back, and he like it starts out and he's just trying to get everything done faster each time. He's just speeding it up. He like goes to like where Renslayer and Miss Minutes are. Is like, hey, can you just come help me with this real quick?
Look, I know you don't want this, but just get over it.
Yeah, we need to do this right now.
And she's like, what?
That was great. But yeah, then he's eventually gets to the point where
you're gonna need to understand all of physics.
Yeah.
Okay. Centuries later.
So, which is insane. So yeah, he's been doing this for centuries.
As the audience, you don't feel the weight of that.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine because it's almost played off as more of a joke.
But it's still
you would think that he would like realize that you think he would figure it out before hundreds of years. You would think.
Yeah. I think I think he's just, so
denial.
focused on trying everything in denial and everything. Yeah. And I mean, if he is spending most of that time just learning physics and everything, he's maybe not thinking about everything like the other possibilities. But yeah, he spends hundreds of years doing that, and then he gets, a perfect run. It's almost like I could describe it like a roguelike video game where you just have to like start over and over again.
Returnal.
Yeah, Returnal.
I loved one of my favorite little bits of that was when he's doing the little model, he's like, Mobius, you're in luck. It looks like you, but it's actually Victor Timely.
Yeah,
and he's like,
that's pretty good.
I thought that was a funny little bit because it still like harkens back to Loki still thinks it looks like Mobius, and Mobius still thinks it looked like. I thought that was a little blink and you miss it joke that I appreciated.
That was pretty good. But when he finally gets like a perfect run, essentially, it still just like doesn't work. Victor Timely gets out there. He's like, don't set down the thing on the walkway because it'll roll off.
Yeah.
And he gets it
Victor,
attached.
what did I say? He's just so matter of fact about everything.
And yeah, he gets the thingamajig onto the other thingamajig to adjust the loom, and it just doesn't work because the loom, as we find out, was programmed to actually just like as a fail safe, just prune everything essentially. Yeah. So yeah, Loki ends up going back to talk to He Who Remains, and essentially what was the season 1 finale, and that's where we learned that. And I thought that scene was pretty good.
Yeah.
Talking to him and kind of revealing that he Who Remains kind of had an idea that this was all going to go down in this way to an extent, but he also thought he was going to be able to get Loki to kill Sylvie, but that didn't end up happening. Which honestly, for a bit, I was like, maybe he is going to kill her.
I thought so. Maybe. Because that's an interesting way for this show to end.
Yeah. They kept hammering home the line where she's like, if you want to stop me, you've got to kill me or whatever. Yeah.
She's very stubborn.
She is very stubborn. But he ends up not doing that. And he instead kind of goes and has conversations with Mobius and Sylvie at different points. Mobius being at the very start of the series when he first gets to the TVA, and he talks to him, and I think it's very funny. I think it's one of the things I really like about this episode is seeing Loki with like his current knowledge interacting with everyone from like these different points of time, and just like he kind of like brushes it off to an extent, but I think it's kind of funny. But his conversation with Mobius is very cool, and Mobius gives some history to his backstory regarding he couldn't like prune this boy who was a variant on the timeline, and implies that it was Renslayer that ended up doing it. I don't think he explicitly says Renslayer, but he says that the Hunter is now a judge. So
yeah, Loki says Renslayer.
Oh, he does. Okay.
My one gripe I feel like is Renslayer and Miss Minutes, like that didn't culminate in anything. I feel like
it didn't.
Like it felt like they were going to play a much bigger part in this, and they just didn't.
Yeah,
which it's not a huge deal to me, but I just did like 2 episodes ago. I felt like they were a lot bigger of a deal than they are now.
Yeah, it didn't bother me too much because I like the direction it goes, but I totally agree.
Yeah, like I just thought it was weird that they built them up so much and then just didn't really do anything.
Yeah, they don't really have much of any presence in this episode at all.
And they didn't last episode either.
No, I don't think they were in the last episode at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then through that, he kind of, he's like, all right. He through that in his conversation with Sylvie, he's like, all right, so you can't just fix it. You can't just replace it with what was. You have to kind of change it. And
my understanding is like if he breaks the loom,
Yeah.
which he threatens to do, then he's going to start a massive war, a multiversal war, and trillions upon trillions of people are going to die or whatever. But at least, you know, free will, and we did this trying, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
the timelines aren't getting pruned constantly.
And so he goes down on that walkway, which was a really cool moment that he, like, his, you know, suit that he's been wearing, you know, disintegrates, and he takes the Loki form.
He also, his last, like, I think it's his last line in the whole show, it was improvised, but it was a callback to his last line in the first Thor movie. Cause he says something like, I know what God I need to be. And then it's like, for you, for all of us, I think is what he says as his last line. And that's like what he says, like if you remember from the first Thor movie, he's like, Odin's like holding him at the edge of the Rainbow Bridge. And then he's like, Loki, why'd you do this? And he's like, I did it for you, for all of us. It drops.
I've never seen Thor.
Oh, so. Okay. But yeah, call back to that. Apparently improvised. So I thought it was a pretty good final line for it.
Yeah. Nice. So then he blows it up and all the timelines are dying, but then he uses Loki god magic to revitalize him, and he becomes what's the tree in Norse mythology? The world tree?
Yeah, world tree, I think, is just what most people call it. It has a name, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Gotta play God of War again.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
Mythology tree. Yggdrasil, right?
Yggdrasil, yeah.
I was like, I thought it was Yggdrasil. I was like, but then I was like, is that right? All right. Norse tree of light.
Yeah, he becomes the Yggdrasil.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I thought that was just nice payoff because it's a nice, if this is where Loki ends up, at least in terms of his overall character arc, it's perfect because, you know, he's now, you know, essentially formed Yggdrasil. He's an important part of Norse mythology. He's the god he always wanted to be. He's had a full character arc. He has his glorious purpose, all of that. We mentioned it last episode too, I think, that he's come like full around on like humanity and everything and just people in general. He doesn't have that cynical like nature he did before, isn't as manipulative or anything. He's a lot more caring now. I just think he might have the best character arc in the whole MCU, honestly. Overall, like I think it's been very, very natural for the most part, and I like how the Loki show has pushed him too. Well,
yeah, I would say he is a top tier character in the MCU now, which is weird because I really did not like him at all when in that first Avengers movie when it came out.
Interesting.
I really need to rewatch it. I have not seen Avengers since it was in theaters in 2012 or whatever.
2012, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he's great. I think him and Mobius are two of my favorite MCU characters. So.
Yeah. And Mobius, ends with Loki holding all of the timelines together. But we also
get a little epilogue, a little denouement.
Yeah. So the TVA still exists to some extent, with Hunter B-15s there, as well as Casey. And then you have Mobius, who seemingly quits, but it's kind of left up to the open as to exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like he's spying on himself.
He's kind of watching his timeline counterpart with his kids and everything and experience. So we'll see exactly how that ends up.
Selby presumably is working at a McDonald's somewhere.
Yeah, goes off kind of, but presumably doing that.
Living the dream.
Yeah. Renslayer is in the pruned dimension.
Yeah.
With the big cloud monster.
Yeah. So is there a way to get out of how did they get out of that in season 1?
They got out of that by they found out that using, I can't remember if it was mind control exactly. They like had to like interact with the big monster. And they had to like, they found out that the monster was like connected to He Who Remains or whatever, and somehow they used magic and they got a portal out of it to get to the end of time or whatever. There was an explanation, I can't remember, but
yeah,
presumably she's trapped there because she doesn't have Loki magic. So
yeah, all right. And that's how the show ends. Like I said, I like how it ended too. The character arcs, no post credits or anything. It seemed very definitive.
Yeah,
no big Kang setup, honestly, other than there's going to be a big multiversal war.
I wanted to mention that. So we talked about that Variety article last week that there was the one
they are
quote.
effed by that. I'm like, are they?
No, I don't think
I
so.
wonder if there was a post credit scene and
Maybe.
now there is not.
They cut it out.
That is complete speculation.
It is, yeah.
That's complete speculation.
But I mean, yeah. Otherwise, it
could be interpreted. It could be interpreted as like, oh, you did this, and now all the Kangs are coming, and there's going to be a multiversal war. But it was just like, there's going to be a multiversal war.
Yeah,
could be. Doctor Doom. I still want Kang. I'm sorry. I still want it to happen. Recast. Figure it out.
I
don't
not
know.
understand why that's like not their first. Like if they want to get rid of Jonathan Majors, just recast him. I don't get
John
that.
Boyega.
Yeah,
there you go. He hasn't been in the MCU, right?
I don't think so.
Disney's screwed him over. They owe him a
give him a nice
redo.
movie. Yeah, nice series.
He's got a lot of range too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's got a good like throne presence to him.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing. Loki got a throne.
Yeah,
it was very nice.
There you go.
I liked that. Yeah, I think, if this is the last we see of Loki, Tom Hiddleston has alluded to it's not. My guess is the most we'll get is like cameo or something. I could see, and maybe this would ruin the ending of this. I could see at some point in like Kang Dynasty or Secret War or whatever, like Thor has some sort of reunion with him. Maybe just where Loki is. Loki doesn't even really, but like through time travel shenanigans or something, then Thor could see how much he's grown or something. That could be a little moment. But if nothing else, good ending to the character here. Doesn't need anything else if there's nothing else.
So. Yeah. Good luck beating this MCU show. I think this is just going to be the best show.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to beat this. Went into season 2 and was wondering if they could do better than season 1. I'm not sure if it is like, I was thinking about it. Season 1 might be more overall consistent, but these last 3 episodes of season 2 have been bangers.
Yeah.
And they're all directed by the same people too. And they're the people that are apparently some of the people in charge of the Daredevil show. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I would say, that was the big worry is can they keep up the quality of season 1? And I think they did. So well done. Yeah. Well done. And anything else to say about Loki, Holden?
I don't think so. I think I'll rate it and I'll give it a 9. I honestly might like it more than Gen V this season, more than Gen V overall. But I mean,
they're both very good. They're both very good.
good.
Yeah. Very, very good. So, I really enjoy both of them coming out at the same time. And then you have Ahsoka coming out at the same time. It really
puts into perspective the quality of that show.
Yeah. All right. That's Loki. And maybe we'll be back with more Loki, maybe not. What we are going to talk about now is the Marvels. Let's keep the MCU train rolling on into the next station, Holden. This is our non-spoiler review, so spoiler-free. Don't have to worry about anything if you haven't seen it, which you probably haven't. All right, spoiler-free review coming at you right after this.
So, the Marvels. Yeah. The Marvels, the new Marvel movie, obviously sequel to Captain Marvel, also kind of Miss Marvel and WandaVision to an extent. But what's your synopsis?
Well, thank you. I can just jump into the synopsis too, Holden. Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, has reclaimed her identity from the tyrannical Kree and taken revenge on the Supreme Intelligence. Boy, I do not remember any of that from the first movie. However, unintended consequences see her shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe. When her duties send her to an anomalous wormhole linked to a Kree revolutionary, her powers become entangled with 2 other superheroes to form the Marvels. Wow, there's a lot of big words in there.
There are.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you made it through that.
I did
pretty
really
much flawlessly.
I did pretty well.
Yeah.
A very zesty synopsis, if I say so myself.
It's directed by Nia DaCosta, who did that Candyman movie from a couple years ago. But this movie's getting a lot of flack. It's not doing particularly well. Although I forgot to confirm this. I did see that it might have the highest opening for any black female director ever. So that's something, if nothing else. But yeah,
that was like a baseball stat. Like, Jerry Washington's 2 for 3 every other Tuesday. He's batting .428 every other Tuesday of years ending in even numbers. This movie's bombing in terms of the in terms of Marvel
overall.
But Holden, I think we both can say this is better than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
it's perfectly all right.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine, which is not what the MCU needs.
No, it's not. But like,
it is better than what a lot of people are expecting or giving it credit for.
It's not great, but it has things where I'm like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it is kind of a mess, but it's also, I don't know. There is a lot of creativity to it. I think they do some things to rectify previous, questionable choices in the MCU. It's also very short. This movie is like a freight train in terms of pacing. Yeah. I would say it's like relentless almost. I would, as much as I praise it being an hour 40, I feel like they could have, given some stuff a bit more room to breathe here. If anything.
I don't think so. I think it was fine. I was like, that was good. Done. Moving on. All right. I didn't need any more of it.
All right.
It felt like a movie with a lot of levity. So I like to just dwell on some things. Like, I don't know. The part to me that weighed it down was I think the villain is very weak.
Yeah,
I think
the villain
that's
is very weak.
I was just like, okay,
what's her name? Let's see here.
Yeah, good.
Darben.
Yeah, I just anytime she was on screen, I don't think it was the performance. I just honestly think the writing was just very weak for that character. They're like, okay, yeah, we got like refugees again, and you're killing refugees, and you're just doing all these evil things, even though like we're supposed to see your perspective. It's been the same villain archetype in like 60% of the last Marvel things we've gotten over the last 3 years, and I just like it just did nothing for me. However, I think our protagonists have been a lot of fun. I think Brie Larson is actually very likable in this movie and does a much better job than any other performance she's had. I think little Kamala Khan is great. I haven't seen Miss Marvel. I thought her energy was welcome. I didn't think it was like too cringe or anything. There's a fun little animation sequence with her. I'm like, this is unique and different. There's other ideas. I'm like, oh, this is different and fun. The cats, I think, have like a nice little payoff moment towards the finale that I thought was fun. Yep. There's some weird cultural things that's like, okay, I don't know if this is amazing, but it's like they went for something here, and I don't know. I thought it was an all right time with standout action of anything. I thought the trading places they did a really good job with that to do creative things and make it just not generic action. I just thought there was a much more excitement to the action here and interest. And as a viewer, I thought it was all very seamless in terms of the visual effects, which was impressive. And I just thought I like how they like got better at trading places over time. And I like how the fact that it kind of nerfed Captain Marvel a little bit, so she can just do everything. And I thought it was just like a fun little like gimmick for this movie that made it more interesting than the rest of the story was. So like, I like all the ideas surrounding the story, but the story itself was still like, okay, Kree Skrull stuff. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
The Secret Invasion kind of. Yeah. It took all the steam out of that.
Yeah. You've jumped around a lot, so I'm going to go back for a second.
And those are all my thoughts. All right, on to our spoiler review.
Yeah, I was like, geez, you're running through this. But performance-wise, I agree. The thing I kind of alluded to at the beginning, I think Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, I think she has a personality here, which you couldn't say about her before.
It doesn't feel like manufactured.
Yeah, it's not
like I'm manufactured snarky woman role from Hollywood. No, it's like, oh no, you're an actual person now.
Yeah, and it felt a lot more natural there. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, as you said, was very good. She was very good in her own show too. To me, this is like almost Robert Downey Jr. levels of perfect casting, because she is like a super fan in real life too.
Yeah,
she's
great.
like this is like exactly what you need from this character.
Infectious. It bleeds off the screen.
Yeah, exactly. And Teyonah Parris's Monica Rambeau is also very good too.
She's good, just not as standout as much of a standout.
Yeah, she didn't have the character improvement or standout moments from the other two.
I think that's more just a script thing than her performance. Like, she does a good job. Nick Fury's fun.
So I was thinking about this. Nick Fury is fun, but it's also like it's jarring going from Secret Invasion to his character.
Yeah. Well, we can all just pretend Secret Invasion didn't happen.
Yeah, and that also could be, this may have been released out of order, how initially it was maybe scripted with Secret Invasion or whatever. But yeah, it was like that series is so like dour and like and everything, and it takes itself so seriously, and Nick Fury's he's just kind of a funny guy here. Mm-hmm. But still Nick Fury at the core. But yeah, my opinion on the fight scenes. The fight scenes were very well done. There's one at towards the beginning that's fantastic. It's probably the best one. But honestly, I would say all of the big kind of action set pieces are pretty well done, especially in terms of Marvel sequences. As you said, it's
more interesting than people shooting lasers at each other.
Yeah. There's they do, as you said, a lot of creative things with switching places. It looks great. I don't know exactly how they do it. I mean, some shots are fully CG, I'm sure, but that's another thing, is that the CG in this movie, I think, looks pretty good overall. I think in terms of, especially in comparison to recent Marvel projects, save for like Loki, a lot of them have been criticized for the CG and everything, but it all looks great here.
There are some weird things where it's like, there's like this place that's like like there's this thing like sucking up all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's like sucking up these like huge chunks of rocks, like amazing. But then the people on the ground are fine. I'm like, physics does not apply apparently. But so there are weird things like that, or it's like, this is breaking my immersion a little bit. And that goes again to like, there's a lot of really good ideas here in the periphery that I think deserve way more credit than this movie's been getting. I think there's a lot of creativity here, especially with the action sequences. Like, they're exciting and very well done in the genre that, we've seen a lot of just very blah stuff, especially from Marvel TV shows.
Yeah.
That, okay, like, now that we have something good, let's give them credit for having something good. Like, more of this, please. I haven't seen Trading Places superhero fighting like this.
Yeah.
In a way that's very hand-to-hand combat in like these destructible environments or different environments. And to have the levity to it, to have the fast-paced action and the good choreography, it's 2 thumbs up for me for those action sequences.
Well, and just also like, from a pure concept standpoint, them trading places constantly, having their powers entangled for whatever reason, it's a very unique concept compared to a lot of what we get, I think, in terms of how these superhero stories usually play out.
And it makes it feel much more organic that they are bringing these characters together now. Okay, we're literally entwined. So now, we have to have this reunion between Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers that we've kind of been building up. And now Kamala Khan gets to meet her hero, that sort of thing, in a way that makes sense because they're intertwined and they literally have to be kind of figuring this out. They're affecting each other.
I will say, I'm not sure, and maybe I just missed some stuff in the movie. There was some confusion for me as to their powers.
Yeah, it felt like it didn't apply all the time to me. I'm like, when does it apply and when does it not? Because you can like fly, but then not. But you can kind of make a fiery fist, Captain Marvel, but you kind of sometimes shoot things, but then you can't. It felt inconsistent. I wasn't sure what are specifically the rules here.
Well, and not even that. For me, especially between Carol and Monica, their powers, I was like, Carol shoots beams or whatever. I wasn't exactly sure what all Monica Rambeau could do.
She can go and she can quit being matter. She can
kind of like.
She can be like a ghost.
Yeah.
Things can go through her.
Yeah, it was kind of
She's
confusing.
like, oh, you want to shake my hand?
And
What
then
the heck?
And then like,
You want to see me go through this wall?
her like power she utilizes to kind of solve like, or at the end of the movie without spoiling it, I think was kind of confusing too. Kamala Khan's was fine because she can just like make light into matter. That's pretty straightforward, I think. But yeah, I would say another criticism I have for it is it felt like the like story between like Carol and Monica was a little underdeveloped to me. I felt like their like dynamic didn't make the most sense to me.
I don't remember the first one at all. So she's like, you were gone forever. You said you were just coming back.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So she resents. It doesn't make sense to me because, and once again, maybe I'm missing something, but she seems to resent Captain Marvel because she didn't come back when she was a kid. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Doesn't everyone know like the exploits of Captain Marvel at this point? Like, wouldn't Monica understand? I don't know. It didn't make the most sense to me.
I don't know. It felt like a forced conflict.
Yeah, it did.
I was like, okay, is this that? Okay, I guess it's a big deal to you, so it's a big deal. But I don't know. I don't know if we really felt that as the audience. Yeah. We didn't feel betrayed by Captain Marvel. No. We were like, you left us behind for 20 years, you piece of crap.
Yeah,
we didn't feel that.
And
people were just yelling, "You're too woke, Captain Marvel." So I don't like you anymore.
I have another probably story thing I'll criticize, but it's probably more of a spoiler thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else non-spoiler. As you said, the cat goose is very fun, and all the things that come with that. I don't really remember the score.
I don't either.
So it's probably fine.
It's fine. All right. Speaking of scores, Holden, what would you give this movie as a score?
Probably 6 out of 10.
Okay.
6.5, maybe. I'll go 6.5. I think it's fun enough. It's nothing great, but yeah, I think it's better than a lot of people are giving credit for.
Yeah. I think if you are a casual Marvel fan that's been looking for something with, fight scenes more along the lines of like Shang-Chi, where it's a little bit more, hand to hand, a little bit different, moments of levity like that. I think you could enjoy this if you go in with low expectations and know that the villain is pretty middling. Yes. But again, it's not very long. It's not a huge commitment. Or you could just wait for it to come out on Disney Plus.
I'm sure a lot of you are going to do.
Which, you can do that. I do think it's worth seeing, at least, and that's coming from someone who does not care at all about the first Captain Marvel.
Yeah. No, I
thought that movie was pretty overrated.
I think this is an overall improvement from that movie. Yeah. I don't know if that's a hot
that
take
movie.
or not.
I do not remember at all.
Yeah, this at least has some memorable stuff in it.
Yeah.
So
I'd much rather rewatch this.
Yes.
So yeah, there you go. That's our non-spoiler review of Captain Marvel. Let's dive into our spoiler-filled discussion right after this.
All right, spoilers for the Marvels. Jimmy, I realized in our non-spoiler review, when we talked about score, we did not talk about the score of Loki.
Oh, well, the score of Loki we've always said is
it's
amazing.
Always been good,
and we're on the record that fantastic MCU score.
Just
one of the top tier MCU scores.
Oh, yeah. I just felt bad we didn't mention it at the very end.
I have it stuck in my head all the time. Dun, 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 boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. The arrangement they have at the very end of the series, too, is so good. I'm really excited for them to release that score on like Spotify.
It's not on Spotify yet?
They have the first half of the season, but not the second half. So.
All right.
Anyway, the Marvels, Jimmy.
Where should
we start with this?
Well, we can start wherever you want to start, Holden. Wherever I'm just going to talk about things that come up to mind because I like to talk about specific moments and that sort of thing.
Sure.
I thought the cat scene was fun where they figured out that, oh my gosh, we only have one escape pod or whatever.
Yeah,
how are we going to fit everybody?
Pods.
Real Titanic moment.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had these cats eat people and then they can spit them up. So let's just have all these little cat octopus kraken things
Yeah.
eat all the people temporarily. And then all the people are like, oh, running away. They're like, quit running away. Please let the cats eat you.
Is easily the funniest scene of the movie because I thought it was filmed kind of like a horror scene, but like we know it's good. Like we know that's what's supposed to happen, but everyone's just screaming.
It was very it was like the Rathtar scene from Force Awakens with the tentacle monster thing.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like that,
Yeah.
but like a better.
Yeah.
And I just thought like that sort of comedy, the fact that they were playing Memories All Alone in the Moonlight.
Oh, is that what they were playing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
the
from
Cats song.
Oh, I didn't even.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, the
put
song
that
came
together.
on. I'm like, I know this song. What is this song? I'm like, oh, it's from Cats.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the one good song from Cats. And so I thought that was just really comedically hilarious.
Yeah.
Which is very redundant to say.
Comedically
Yeah, I would say
hilarious.
that's very comedically hilarious, Olin. That is my insight there. I'm trying to match the the Marvel's synopsis guy.
Yeah, just
with
using
my huge words here.
tyrannical,
Anomalous, unintended consequences with see her shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe. Yeah. That was not written by a sixth grader, I can tell you that. Wow, that was my favorite moment of the movie.
Yeah, it was your
I
favorite
did
movie.
doze off just a little. Guys, when I see a movie past 7:00 on a weeknight, I'm gonna fall. It does
happens
not
so
matter.
often.
It does not. There's gonna be 1% of a movie I don't see, and for me, I slightly dozed off when they were on the singing planet, which probably was a good time to. I feel like I didn't really miss much. She was like a princess. Was she? How did that work?
Okay, so she had gotten married to the prince of this planet
Yeah.
or this society. She said it was a diplomatic thing. I don't think
Okay,
she really
open
elaborated.
relationship?
Yeah,
All right.
it was basically just for like a diplomacy.
That's
sake.
what I gathered, but again,
Yeah.
was not completely coherent through that scene.
Overall, I have seen mixed things about the dancing planet, singing planet. I thought it was very creative and fun, and
I can't understand your accent. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, it was kind of like that.
If it can be
It's-
good in SpongeBob, why can't it be good in Captain Marvel?
right.
I think it's fine. Like, I can see why it wouldn't work for people, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's just a preference thing. Not like, that is such bad writing. That's so stupid. This movie's dumb.
I think it's different enough. It's nice because we see so many planets in this like universe that are they just speak English.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I think they've explained is like, oh, they've got
Which
like
they sang
translators
in
or whatever. Yeah, they sang in English, but it's at least it's something like, okay, it's a little bit different. There's a fun little gimmick here. Does it make the most sense? Maybe not. Could they have pushed it further? Maybe a bit. But overall, I thought it was fun. I thought the dancing was cool. Very colorful planet too.
Can't wait for Star Wars to be in the MCU.
Yeah,
They're just
connected.
going around.
It's bound to happen.
Ray Skywalker, I
Maybe
have the
that's
time stone.
They've got Marvel and Star Wars both.
They
kind
could
of
do it,
floundering.
They
a bit
could
right
do
now.
it.
They could do it.
dude. Yeah,
Do you think that would help?
the
them?
Death Star. They built another Death Star. No, actually, that's the first one. They just time warped it over here. Oh wow, they got a whole planet full of water. Imagine all the jet skis. Wow.
Yeah. What else? So the dancing planet. There's a cool fight scene on there. Yeah, they were gonna steal the water. It wasn't. I guess I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, they're still in the salt water.
Yeah, they're stealing salt water, whatever, I guess. But I'm also unclear. Like, okay, so they kind of stopped it, but I would assume they like had already stolen a bunch of water, so that would probably affect that planet quite a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think of like a huge ocean, it wasn't that long.
I guess, yeah, that's probably true. Just a little lower water level.
Yeah. And they're like, we're gonna steal your son.
Yeah, because she was apparently
Just because
hitting-
I'm vengeful. When we could literally go to all these other stars that have zero impact on anybody and just steal one of those without any consequence.
Okay, so she was going after planets that Captain Marvel was connected to. So it makes sense. Earth, you've got the dancing planet because she's married to the guy or whatever. But I didn't like the other planet is just a scroll planet.
She helped the scrolls or something.
I guess.
I don't remember the first movie, Holden.
Yeah, I don't know. It
And
seems
I'm like, there are more scroll refugees. Like, what? We don't have anywhere to go. Like, okay. Aren't like a million of you on Earth?
Yeah,
like,
now
you could literally go anywhere and blend in.
And now there's just more on Earth too, because Valkyrie comes and picks him up
Yeah.
and takes him to New Asgard or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
Now they're just all on Earth, I guess.
Yeah.
Kamala
Khan's like, Captain Marvel will fix this, I promise. I'm like, well, gee whiz. Speak for yourself. Waiting for Captain Marvel to be like, shut the heck up, little twerp.
I like the angle of Captain Marvel. Like I like the angle that her destroying the Supreme Intelligence at the end of the first movie just had these dire consequences for this people. Like I
could not have told you that happened in that movie.
Yeah,
I do not I do not remember the plot at all.
I kind of forgot until I like read the plot again before watching the movie. But I like that idea that like, you know, what she did at the end, you know, has these drastic effects. But I feel like it's not pushed far enough with either the villain or Captain Marvel herself. I didn't really feel like she felt a little regret, but I felt like it didn't really play too much into her character ultimately. I don't know. Because if she's like, I would feel like someone like her, if she had inadvertently like doomed an entire people, even if they weren't necessarily people she liked initially, like she'd, you know, feel a little regret.
Well, they're like, well, just restart the sun. She's like, well, I've never tried anything like that before. And they're like, well, just do it. And then she's like, okay. And then she just does it. That part seems a little cheap.
That did seem cheap. I forgot about that, honestly.
Oh man, I doomed this entire planet. I could try restarting the sun, but God, that does seem like a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know.
That might hurt.
Yeah.
Even though she's like indestructible.
Yeah.
While I'm criticizing things, I also didn't understand.
While I'm criticizing things, Holden, you're ugly.
Very nice.
I'm sorry. I'm just.
You didn't have to say it. We're all thinking
that was a bit. That was a bit. That's why I'm not publishing the video for this anymore. It's just gone.
But yeah, I didn't understand at the end when Monica's just like, all right, just overload me with power and I'll just close this thing.
Yeah.
It was like, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how she knew she could do that.
I don't know. Don't think about it, Holden.
I guess, yeah, don't think about it.
Yeah. There you go.
She gets trapped in the X-Men universe, I guess.
Yeah. Cool.
Got Kelsey Grammer's Beast, who's all CG.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Nice.
What else? I'm trying to think if there's anything that's significant spoiler related to Kamala. She comes to realize
she's got both the bracelets now.
She's got both the bracelets. Yeah.
So she should be really powerful.
Yeah.
But
that was the other thing. So she can handle both bracelets, but the other lady can't.
Well, maybe she tried to overuse them. I don't know.
Yeah, that didn't make the most sense to me. And then at like the end of the movie, it looked like she just had one on again. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's too dangerous to use both.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
There you go.
She's come to realize Captain Marvel's a person and not just her idol.
Wow.
Oh, very
there
deep.
You go. Look, it was all right.
Yeah.
There's holes you can poke in it. But I think it's a lot better than people are giving it credit for, particularly the action. So I think, there were enough things that were different here. It was short enough that I did not have a bad time. I had a good time. Much better time than I thought I was going to because I was dreading this movie. I think if you go into this movie or if you went into this movie in spoilers and you weren't like, I'm going to hate this movie. I hate Disney. You probably left going, that was all right. And then thought about it more. And you're like, well, I could poke a hole, poke a hole, poke a hole. And it was, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I guess before we move on, I did want to mention the fight scene towards the beginning, which is quite good.
In the house.
Yeah, in the house.
I hope they have insurance.
Yeah, right? the house just gets completely destroyed.
I'm always thinking like, gee whiz, this is going to cost a lot of money.
They're like flipping between that, the Saber station, and a Kree ship or whatever. And then like Goose gets involved, which I thought was fun, just eating and attacking people. And that's kind of where we find out
spitting people out.
Yeah, we find out that don't necessarily like die when they get ate. But yeah, that was a fun scene.
Yeah.
Best part of the movie, honestly, probably.
Sweet. There you go. Anything else to say?
I'm not sure there is.
All right, then that's our review of Captain or the Marvels, whatever it's called. Let's talk about the other movie that came out this week.
It starts with the.
Yeah, David Fincher's The Killer.
Yes.
The Killer Who Kills. This is going to be our spoiler-free review. So if you haven't seen it yet, you haven't popped onto Netflix, you're locked out of your parents' account or whatever, you're still safe. This is our non-spoiler review of The Killer.
All right, The Killer from David Fincher. Jimmy, what's the synopsis?
There you go. Got right into it. Solitary, cold, methodical, and unencumbered. Ooh, that's a good one. By scruples. Or regrets. A killer waits in the shadows, watching for his next target. Yet, the longer he waits, the more he thinks he's losing his mind, if not his cool.
Is that really the premise of the movie?
Apparently. I feel like I'm doing very well at reading these premises that have, look at that, solitary, cold, methodical, and unencumbered by scruples or regrets. A killer waits in the shadows waiting for his next target. I read that flawlessly.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not convinced that's the synopsis I would use for this movie. Anyway.
Yeah. 77% of Google reviewers like this movie.
Yeah, this movie it's not as unanimously loved as I would say a lot of other David Fincher's movies are. Especially movies kind of this similar style. Regardless, it was written by Andrew Kevin Walker. You don't say Walker. Walker, who apparently wrote Seven with David Fincher. So they've worked together before. I quite liked this movie though, Jimmy.
Yeah, what the heck? Why are there so many 1 out of 5 reviews on Google? What has happened? Like, what is there some sort of like this movie's woke or something?
I don't think it is. I think it's just like this movie it's pretty simple. Like, at least in terms of execution,
He's
it's
a
pretty
deadly
simple.
bore.
Yeah,
New
I
York
think
Times. Wow.
And it has like I'd say like a pattern, I guess, to it. Like that I feel like people might get bored by, but I don't know. I thought it was fun.
Quite good. I do think it's a little slow, but I don't hate it because it is methodical. Like it's like he's very much like disclaimer, I did see the first 20 minutes of this and then I saw the rest of it like 2 days later. So I mean that maybe that affected my viewing of it a little bit, but I thought this movie was very good and I enjoyed it a lot and I really liked how it was kind of segmented. It reminds me of like Promising Young Woman. In the way that it's like, okay, here's my chapter target, kind of this contained story that you could watch honestly just separately, and then it's pieced together. I thought it was very entertaining, honestly, and I liked how you didn't quite know how things were going to go down.
Yeah,
I think there's moments of levity in it that are pretty fun. And all around, I just thought it was like, I thought this character, the killer, played by Michael Fassbender, was pretty interesting. And like, you kind of are getting inside of his head and the way he perceives himself versus what he's actually like.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. I thought that was pretty well done. Like you said, it's a simple movie. I don't think it's like the best David Fincher movie, but I thought it was a very solid entry and worth watching.
Yeah. No, it's very David Fincher-y in terms of how it's like made and everything. Like David Fincher's movies are very well known for being so like methodical themselves and like having a lot of like basically perfectly shot, right?
Yeah.
Like there's really no, I feel like this movie is shot and edited like with like a fine tooth comb, I guess.
Yes.
Maybe you could
masterfully.
Yeah, masterfully. Like there's nothing extra in here. It feels like nothing was left out and everything is just, it looks fantastic. It's got all the blues and oranges that you could want in a David Fincher movie.
Blues and oranges.
But performance-wise, Michael Fassbender, I mean, we've always said that he's a very good actor who has like the worst agent. And this is finally a good movie that he's in. So good
Although
for him.
I never did see the Steve Jobs movie. You liked it?
Yeah, okay. He is good, and he's got some good movies under his belt. But I feel like, especially in the last several years, a lot of movies he's in are he is way too good for. And
are you telling me Assassin's Creed isn't amazing? I have not
forgot
seen
he
it.
was in that.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen a Fincher movie. No, I think the last one I watched was Zodiac before this, but I'm trying to think.
Mank?
No, I think I watched Zodiac more recently than Mank, actually. But is it part of his style to have, like, I don't know what to call, if this is the right term for them, but like inserts shots where it's like a sequence is happening and then it's like a very specific, like close up piece of the action that's like inserted. It's very like jarring, but in a good way.
I think so. Yeah.
And I just really noticed that here to like good effect, whether it's like someone's like hands close up or a very specific thing, like the twisting of a neck or like, and it's just very brief, but jarring close up shot.
Yeah, accentuates
that accentuates and it kind of
action.
extends the action a little bit. Almost like a little Sam Raimi-esque, but more like subtle, I guess. More like you don't internalize it as much. Or realize it's happening.
A lot of people just might not even register as happening, but it's something that's used.
It works really well subconsciously, I think. But I enjoyed those here. And I like how it was segmented into parts because I do think it makes you very much like you have to have variety in the film. And I think it's like very distinct chapters that you could I could go back and rewatch one of these things without sitting in and rewatching the whole movie. It reminds me, like I said, Promising Young Woman. It also reminds me of like Inglourious Bastards.
Well, and it's not quitting after the first 20 minutes or taking a break or whatever isn't the worst because I feel like that especially works as like a short film almost.
Oh yeah,
like it is very
any
segmented.
of these really would work as a short film, but that one would too.
Yeah, especially. But I've forgotten to mention it earlier. This feels like, and I don't want this to be like reductive to this movie or anything. It feels like the best possible like Hitman adaptation.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is Hitman.
Yeah,
I thought so many times. I'm like, okay, yes, that's very Hitman-esque. That's very Hitman-esque. Who's this movie for? If you like playing the Hitman games, this is up your alley.
Yeah, it feels like an unofficial adaptation in a way because it spends so much time in like surveillance. It spends so much time in like every aspect of like the Hitman job.
Disguises, sneaking when getting security clearance, that sort of
cleaning
thing.
up, and escaping successfully and everything, and the kill itself, obviously. But yeah, it pretty much every like encounter in this is kind of spent.
Yeah.
With all of these like steps taking its time, and while I haven't played the Hitman games themselves, I've seen plenty, and you've talked about it.
Yeah, they're fun. The little bit limited time, I play them like, oh, I really enjoy this. I play it for like 2 hours and never play it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's funny because it's like the people also search for section on Google that has Gone Girl, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Zodiac, obviously, and then Hitman. From 2007. No, this was great. I thought the exact same thing. So if that's intriguing to you, you should definitely watch this movie. But yeah, no, I really liked it. I like the performances. Again, it's not one that you have to commit to the whole thing, honestly, in one sitting. You could just be like, all right, I have 20 minutes. I'll watch the first 20 minutes. All right, I got another 15, 20 minutes. You can watch the next part and watch in chunks.
It's only 2 hours.
Yeah, it's not long.
Like,
but I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, you could taste test it. You could watch the first 20 minutes and be like, do I like this? Yes or no? And sit through it. Cause I was like, oh, this is, I didn't know what to really expect from this movie. I didn't know before we got the first trailer, I didn't know what the premise was. I was thinking more like serial killer
I was
sort of
thinking
thing,
that
like
too.
not Hitman, but serial killer. So I was a little disappointed when the first trailer came out, honestly, that I was like, oh, okay, it's a Hitman thing, not a serial killer thing. So I guess I wasn't as excited for it. And I was like, okay, I wasn't really looking forward to watching this movie. And I was like, well, that first 20 minutes was pretty good actually. And then I enjoyed the other hour and a half before the credits. So I thought it was very well done and very entertaining.
I also want to say the sound design is very good in this movie. It's there, so it has a big focus on music by the Smiths, I believe.
Yeah.
There's so much.
A lot. I'm like, this guy really likes the Smiths.
Which is funny because you see at the beginning like a whole playlist of his music, and it doesn't look like it's all the Smiths, but that's just kind of all the plays in the movie. But so you get a lot of there's several scenes where it's him like preparing for a kill or focusing. He's listening to the Smiths, and then it cuts away, and it's like the music stops, and then it cuts to his perspective, and the music's very loud again or whatever. But yeah, I just thought that was great. And the score itself is another Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, who does a lot of Fincher's music, was very weird. It's not a score I would listen to on its own at all, but it was very like, I thought it was very good for the movie.
Yeah. I didn't notice it very much.
Sure.
What was I gonna say? Lost it. But yeah, no, I honestly don't know if I have a ton else to say. Here's what I was gonna say. I like how you didn't know exactly what he was gonna do each time. Like you were kind of piecing it together. Like they don't like it's not like spoon fed to us. You get little bits of information at a time, and you kind of bridge the gaps. Oh, okay, this is the plan. This is what he's doing. That sort of thing. And then you get to see it play out, and you're like, I know it's not gonna go exactly to plan. What's gonna go wrong here? And then getting the little, a lot of times like the internal monologue cliche can fall flat for me. In a film like Ad Astra, I know that was like an issue I had. For here, I think there's not a ton of dialogue in a lot of things. There's a lot more visual storytelling. There are some conversations, including one with Tilda Swinton that I think is a really good one. I think the internal monologues here are, I think, a lot more effective than other films. And I think they add and not detract to it.
He doesn't have very many like actual lines in the movie. It is a lot of internal dialogue. And one of the things I really liked about it, in addition to just like the content of the dialogue, was it would like sometimes just work in real time with what he was thinking. Because it is ultimately like what he's thinking at any given moment. And so like in the scenes where he's more calm, he has more like it's slow. He's kind of thinking about his mantra and a bunch of other things like at the beginning of the movie. But then like if something happens that's like against his plan, he just,
he's like trying to recite his scriptures.
Exactly. So he's thinking his way through everything. I think it's done very well.
And I like how he's like kind of contradicting it sometimes.
It's like he contradicts himself a lot in terms of his mantra. And at some point he just I feel like he drops part of it at a certain point because he kind of recites it in each part. But
I thought it was very good, Holden. Anything else to say non-spoiler wise?
I don't think so, no.
All right, what are you going to score this one?
This is probably 8.5.
Nice. Sweet. Yeah. Obviously, if you like other David Fincher movies, if you're interested in the Hitman things, watch the first 20 minutes and then decide whether or not you want to watch the rest of it, is what I would say. If you have Netflix, might as well do it. Yeah. And if you don't like it, go over to Amazon Prime and watch The Killing Boat.
There you go.
All right. That's what we got for non-spoilers. Let's dive into our spoiler-filled discussion of The Killer. You have been warned. Go pop open your Netflix app and watch that sucker.
Okay, spoilers for The Killer.
The Killer who kills.
Yes. Well, so we can start with the kind of beginning of the movie, which is the little bit in the Parisian room where he's staking out a hotel room, it seems. Very Rear Window.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Rear Window. Yeah,
which I mean, it's
a movie I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same because he's not trapped there or anything, but so much of the time is spent there, and he's like doing stretches. He's going through his monologues and everything, just watching everything. And it's as the audience, we don't know exactly what he's doing. Like we know he's out on a hit, but we don't know who he's looking for. We don't know where they are going to be exactly because there's a lot of misdirection with him, like looking around at various different parts of like across the street. There's a lot of people he focuses in on. You're like, could that be it? No, it's not. And then eventually it's that big hotel room, it seems, and some old guy who we don't know who he is
and then
at any point in the movie.
Shoots the lady in an accident.
Misses him. Which is so good because up to that point, like he's like his internal monologue. We have the
he's so assured of himself.
He's so assured of himself. He's obviously like a sociopath to some extent.
No empathy,
narcissistic to an extent, and he seems very professional.
He never misses ever.
Never misses. He says at one point he's like for people that are able to afford me, they don't have to convince me to kill anyone or whatever. They shouldn't have to waste time like that or whatever. But yeah, and then he just misses. And honestly, it's almost kind of funny that he misses.
Like F.
Yeah. Just swears. And then he leaves her. I mean, part of me thinks, as good of a hitman as he is, and as assured of himself as he is in this movie, like he messes up a lot.
That's what I think is like the best joke is like he's so confident in himself, but the rest of the movie kind of just proves how not great of a hitman he is.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, and maybe part of that is his focus and everything. Ego is maybe broken by this botched hit, but yeah, he's kind of doing everything imperfectly, and he's getting away with everything, but just not according to this meticulous plan he has.
Well, I just think it goes to show his delusions and like how he is just so confident in his abilities, overconfident. I think it adds to the character, and that's why I think it's creative. I do think, I guess my qualm is, I do think some things just go on too long unnecessarily. Like where he's like getting chased, or like going through the airport, or like just kind of more mundane things. Like I'm like, I didn't need all of this stuff necessarily.
Yeah, not everything is, I guess, completely necessary.
It doesn't feel super airtight to me, and I don't think all these moments are like actually adding to the characters all the time. But I do think there are things like that along the way. But it's like, even then, like he's like going through airport security, and then there's like the dog there, and he's like worried about the dog. But I'm like, well, what's the dog gonna like? Why are you afraid of the dog? Like the dog, you don't have like drugs on you. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, there's nothing that like, he just seems like paranoid AF for a lot of this. I love how they do accentuate all his different identities.
Yeah, every single time
whatever.
he like boards a flight or rents a car, they say, well, "Thank you for your patronage. Yeah. What's your name?" Yeah. That was very funny. That was a joke that's like, it kept going, but it almost got funnier each time because it's just of how many there were.
He's so paranoid. He puts the cup on top of the handle and the little lid or whatever you want to call it for his dish in the hotel for the room service, and he's on the planes. He's always like scouting out, and
he sees that one guy who he thinks is like following him or might be following him, and because of that he like delays his flight.
Yeah,
like just because of that, and it turned out to be nothing.
Very paranoid. And then he gets home, and is it his girlfriend?
Yeah,
or girlfriend. Okay, that's like attacked.
Because of the botched hit, there was a couple other assassins that were sent to kill him.
The consequences. Yeah. Like, okay, well, this is what happens.
Trim loose ends. Yeah.
Automatic consequences for this, all that stuff. It's like, well, you weren't supposed to go home, man. You're supposed to disappear after that.
Yeah.
So I do think that I would say maybe like the 20 minutes after the first 20 minutes is like the slowest part of the movie for me. Yeah. Like when you're the in between, like him messing it up and him actually like starting this like revenge tour.
It's before the kind of rhythm of the movie gets down and before
really kicks into gear.
Yeah. Before you get into the whole methodically planning out certain things and executing them and whatnot. That is probably the only part that's like not like that, I would say.
Yeah. But after that I enjoyed it. Starting with the ride with, is it like Leo or something?
Yeah, taxi. The cab driver.
I did get I think this was like a little visual gag, but like when he goes to call Leo, there's like an orange taxi there who's like this guy waiting outside the orange taxi. And he kind of like, what the heck, man? Like he called Leo in the middle of this conversation while this orange taxi was open.
Yeah, he had been sitting there.
And then he rides back to the airport or wherever in the orange taxi.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he comes out, like he exits an orange taxi. And I'm like, oh, there we go.
Okay, that's
I thought that was a funny little gag. If you caught it. Which I think I caught correctly. Maybe I'm just imagining things.
Which, yeah, that I think the moment where he kills Leo is the first time you're like, okay.
I'm like, this guy's dead. Like he said, ladies like show no empathy. I'm like, he's just gonna kill this guy.
I think it was also like the moment for the killer character where you're like, okay, this guy's like doesn't mess around, because
He's
every other time he's like, he tried to kill it was an accidental kill or whatever on his job, but you hadn't really seen him kill anyone in cold blood yet.
Yeah. And of all the people, Leo was probably the most deserving to just live, because he literally was just
a driver,
paid to be a taxi driver. Like he wasn't like he gave him the information. Like
said everything he knew.
Know anything else?
Yeah.
So
rest in peace, Leo.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Leo. Yeah. Then we get who's our first victim here? It's
the lawyer, right?
The lawyer, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
which that was a great scene.
So it doesn't go into it too deeply, but it seems to be the backstory with this killer character is that he went to law school, and then this lawyer guy, I don't know if he's a professor or if he's a lawyer or both or whatever, but he like convinced the killer character, at least according to the killer in his own inner monologue, to become a killer for him. And yeah, so they end up they're working together, and the lawyer guy seems to be the man in the chair, if you will.
Yeah,
for this operation.
But that was my favorite thing, where he's like dressing up as the recycling worker and figuring out how to break in. And,
he's got like he says
that was very
houses.
Hitman. Yeah, that was very, very Hitman.
6 safe houses just full of like everything you could need. He's got magnetized license plates. He's got the decals you can put on whatever, and yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, that was great. Dressing up, infiltrating, using the nail gun.
Yep.
It should take about 6 to 7. He's like doing the whole Sherlock Holmes thing, like, with this and this and this and la la la, and I come to this conclusion, and he's dead.
Yeah, he's just dead. And then, yeah. Which I thought was very funny. But
And then you have the whole kind of aftermath of that scene with the assistant, the receptionist, or whatever you want to call her.
Dolores, I think.
Dolores, yeah. That was pretty great too, and he's taking her to the house, and like the whole code I thought was interesting for like the clients, and just snaps her neck.
Yeah, well, it's some of it seems to be like empathy, right? In that case,
because he says show no empathy, and then he like lets her live, so you're like thinking he's made a mistake, but I guess it did work out for him.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, he is showing her empathy by seemingly just leaving her body there, right? Like he made it look like an accident where she could have just like fallen down the stairs or whatever.
Yeah. So her kids could get her life insurance.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the main contradictions there is a little slight bit of empathy, even if he still does just kill her.
Yeah. So that was great. I think that was probably my favorite of the kind of all the sequences.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too.
But then we have, I think the next one's the guy, right? The big brute guy
with down in Florida,
his pit bull.
Which drugs.
Drugs. Yeah, I was like, I think he's gonna drug some sort of guard dog here, and then it's what he does. And
I thought it was funny him buying all the stuff at the store, like the meat and just like a bunch of NyQuil.
It's like turning some heads. So that whole infiltration, you're like, there's gonna be a fight here. Like, he's not gonna just come and execute this guy. And how is he not knocked unconscious by this guy? He just he just lays into him a couple punches right away.
One bit where he like jumps and slams backwards.
Oh my
gosh. He did look dazed after that. The fight scene was pretty good in general. I thought that was pretty well executed.
A lot of broken glass.
Yeah. John Wick.
Lots of broken glass.
Yeah, but it was a very well done action scene, very tense.
It reminded me of that Barry season 2.
I was thinking that
scene,
too, especially when it
Ronnie
started.
Lily.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very funny. But yeah, I thought that was great. I thought it was funny that I can't remember what he was saying. The guy was like saying something and he just gets shot like mid-sentence.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun.
Yep. Good. He burns his house down. That dog could get some hops.
Yeah, it was jumping up high.
Yeah.
Also terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has been chased by a dog, terrifying.
Yeah. And then of course we have the Tilda Swinton scene.
Yep.
Which that might be my favorite too. I like
So many
the
of them are
lawyer one and that one the best,
Yeah.
I think. But just the conversation, and I liked her story of the bear and the hunter.
Yeah.
That was pretty comical, and all the food and
Well, and I like that he finds where she lives and then like trails her and is like going to kill her. Seems to like that he's just going to kill, like a drive-by shooting kind of thing, which she even kind of mentions later on. And then he decides not to.
Well, there was like a little siren cop car.
Was that why?
It was like boop boop.
No, I thought
I figured that was why he didn't quite have the opportunity.
Oh, I thought it was once he saw her, like he decided not to. But you could be right. Maybe I just didn't pick up on that.
She does look like a Q-tip.
Yeah, that was funny. Described as a Q-tip.
Tilda Swinton. It's a Q-tip.
But yeah, then the whole conversation at the restaurant, and yeah, as you said, the story with the bear is very good. Michael Fassbender just has like one expression the entire scene. I was like waiting for it to change, and it does like a little bit, but there are a couple shots where it just goes back to him. I'm like, I know it's not, but this could be the same shot from before, because he's just like stone faced sitting there completely still, nearly unblinking in some cases, but
never trust anyone.
Yeah.
Good thing he didn't. She would have gotten him. Shot her in the head.
Yeah.
Phone for the knife.
Yeah. It was very good. I liked
Lend a girl a hand, would you? Nope. And then finally we get the billionaire mean guy.
Yes. Which he stalks him around, stalks him at his gym.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was very cool. He uses the gym, his like key card or whatever in the locker, copies it. Very clever, I thought. And it's just like it's so fun to see like the lengths he goes to like get this, because he starts a gym membership, and initially you're like, is he gonna get him at the gym or whatever? But no, he's doing that just to get this key card, and then it's kind of this whole domino effect, and then he gets in because a Postmates guy.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny as someone who's DoorDash's like security is uptight until someone wants his watermelon or whatever.
Yeah, from Postmates. And then it's like, you better not do any of this again. And then the movie ends.
Yeah, which honestly, I think like the killer doesn't really have an arc, but I think it works because I'm like, okay,
it works, but it's not super satisfying as a viewer, I think.
Like,
but
the
I don't
guy,
think it's supposed to be necessarily.
The guy clearly did not know what he was doing. Like, he was someone, he says, like, he knew he was ordering a hit. That was about the extent of it. Then when the hit went wrong, like, the lawyer guy was like, well, do you want loose ends cleaned up? And the guy's just like naive and is like, I did not know what that meant.
Yeah.
Or at least to the extent of what that meant.
Yeah. But then you look at it, and the kind of mean billionaire guy gets to live, and the poor taxi driver who just did a job is dead.
Like, yeah, in the big picture, it is kind of sad, but
then he gets to live with his girlfriend
in retirement. Yeah,
happily ever
after.
AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA. And that's the killer. Anything else to say, Holden?
I don't think so.
All right, there you go. There we have it. On to our final segment of the show, which, of course, Holden, is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, Jimmy. So for this week, I rewatched the first Hunger Games movie. Jimmy.
No, 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 no. Shaky cam galore.
Yeah, it's the only one that's not directed by Francis Lawrence. And it definitely, I mean, granted, I haven't seen the sequels quite yet. I think I'm planning on rewatching them before we see the movie, but the new movie. But this one feels very different from what I remember the other movies being, and it's not that great. It's pretty mid. It's very long. As I was telling you, I didn't remember it was like 2 hours, 20 minutes, which just feels very long for this movie.
Yeah.
Granted, I didn't feel the world building being quite as like lengthy. Like I remember as a kid being really bored in like the first half of this movie. I didn't feel that.
Had you read the book before?
I think I had. So maybe that's why I was bored. I was like, okay, that's like, I already know this all happens. But yeah, I don't know. It was fine. Jennifer Lawrence is good. Josh Hutcherson paints himself as a rock at some point in the movie.
That's
to
right.
camouflage.
Yeah, that's in the book.
Yeah, it is in the book.
I just remember Stanley Tucci being great as
he's
Caesar
very
Flickerman.
good.
I just remember as a kid watching that, I'm like, this guy is the standout. Amazing.
He was so good. And from what I understand, early reviews of the new one, apparently his like equivalent in this one is very good too.
Cool.
So excited to see that. But aside from that, I also watched the Muppet movie from the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Which I had never seen. I also watched the one that came after, The Great Muppet Caper.
Is that the one with Rainbow Connection?
Yes, it is.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows?
Such a good song.
What's on
And honestly,
the
every
other
song in that first
side?
movie is so good. And I didn't realize I had known like some of the other ones. But it's just, that first movie is just such a fun ride. It's like,
I haven't seen it.
I would recommend it. The Muppets, I mean, themselves, just fun characters, very colorful, literally and figuratively.
I think I've seen most of A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Okay, with Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Who apparently on that movie, he like, his whole thing was he just treated the Muppets like they were people. That was how he like stayed in character. And that's why he's like so serious in the movie. He's refused to see them as puppets.
I refuse to see you as a puppet.
But yeah, did that. Watched that. The second one, Great Muppet Caper, was also very good. I also, last week, I realized, if kind of going out of order here, I saw Stop Making Sense.
How was that concert movie? Well,
yeah,
then you
the
didn't go
Talking
see
Heads.
Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour?
No, but I saw the Talking Heads one because I like Talking Heads more. It was good. I like, everyone says this is like
The greatest concert movie ever made.
And maybe it's because Talking Heads is like I like them, but they're not like one of my favorite bands or anything. I was like, yeah, it's a good concert movie. The it's very well performed. I like the ambition of it because it's like, it starts out at the very beginning and it's just David Byrne, the lead singer, playing acoustic guitar and singing. And then by the end of it, it's super elaborate. It just kind of super like evolves over time. That's very cool. But I'm not a 5-star Stop Making Sense person. I'm a 4-star Stop Making Sense person because it's very good, but not like one of my favorite movies, I would say.
Okay. I don't care. I probably wouldn't watch it anyway.
Yeah, I know. I offered for you to come with me.
I'm a hater.
You're a Talking Heads hater.
Gotta shake it off. Oh.
But then I finished Fall of House of Usher on Netflix. Very good. That finale was really, really good. I'm very curious to maybe go back and read some Edgar Allan Poe stories and see how those kind of tie in because it's very dense with references to those. But very good Mike Flanagan series. If you like his others, I recommend that. And then just been watching Venture Brothers, and I 100%ed Super Mario Wonder. Wow. So yeah, did that in Spider-Man, which came out on the same day within like 2 weeks.
I'm like halfway done with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah. So goes to show you how little of a life I have, I guess.
And how much of a life I have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I started Dead Space remake.
Nice.
Using that EA access thing.
What's the date today?
I think that ends on the 17th.
17th. Okay. I got time yet. Yeah. If you don't know, a little PSA for you. EA Access, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It's a subscription service to EA,
which is
the evil empire. But
I I will say, horrible service. Aside from like Dead Space, it's like very like no games.
Hey, you want to play FIFA from last year? Except
exactly.
it's not even called FIFA anymore. We're calling it EA Sports FC. All right. But what they're doing right now, promotion, 99 cents for 1 month subscription. And with that 1 month subscription, you can play the Dead Space remake. So essentially you're paying, you're paying $1 to play Dead Space if you can play it in a month, which you probably can.
Yeah. I will say though, I just started it last night, so I've played maybe like 30, 40 minutes of it. It is very hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, and maybe I just like have not figured it out.
Is there no
yet,
difficulty calibration?
There is.
Okay.
I'm playing on like medium, like just the normal difficulty.
Well, I'm playing on medium rare.
Yeah, there you go.
I like to play,
That'd be funny if that was
I
the
like to play
scaling.
my video games on medium rare. Honestly, I like the second easiest. If that's normal, then it's normal. If it's easy, then it's easy. If it's storytelling, that's too easy. Gotta go easy.
Yeah, there are two lower than medium.
There
There's
you go.
Story
Medium,
and easy.
Yeah, medium rare.
There you
easy.
go. Yeah, no, it's very, it looks gorgeous. Sound design so far has been very cool. I'm eager to play more, but I am very bad at it right now, so we'll see. But what about you, Jimmy? What have you been doing?
I have not been doing a ton, but one of the things I have been doing, Holden, is I started watching, and you're going to be so intrigued by this, but I'm started watching an Arsenal documentary, the Arsenal Football Club based out of North London.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Because now that the baseball season is done, I am fully going back immersed into my Arsenal fandom, which I have been a fan of them since 2014-15 season now. So mostly downs for Arsenal, and
not
now
a fair weather fan.
No. Well, I bandwagoned onto them
when they were good,
but now then they're bad. But now they're getting good again. So lots of exciting things there. I want to fully immerse myself, which is hard to do here in the United States. But started listening to an Arsenal podcast. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, fully immersion, full immersion now, Holden. So that's fun. I'm trying to think. Emily and I have watched a little bit more of The Killing Vote, but we just haven't had a ton of time to do that. But just chipping away at Spider-Man, and that's how that's going. So that's been my life, Holden. Nice. I don't think I have anything else unless I'm completely blanking. So next week, what is on the docket, sir?
We've got Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Jimmy.
Oh, my goodness.
It's the newest Hunger Games prequel film. Wanting to see Anatomy of a Fall? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, so look, Anatomy of a Fall won Palme d'Or. Palme d'Or, that's right.
I think it's just Palme d'Or.
Palme d'Or. It's a door made of palms. No, it's an orange. It's a gold leaf thing.
Sure.
Gold palm leaf. It won the Palme d'Or, Cannes. And it's playing at the State Theater on Wednesday at 7, but it's 2.5 hours long. So we'll see. Potentially. I want to see it.
Yeah, I've heard it's obviously very good.
It will probably be nominated for Best Picture, so I'm assuming we'll see it at some point, whether or not it's in the upcoming week.
It's a crime movie.
It's a crime. Yeah, no, I noticed that too, and I looked it up earlier. That's what Google says, crime/crime for, it's like crime/thriller or comedy/drama.
This is a crime.
Yeah, crime. So that may be on the docket. But otherwise, we'll at least have The Hunger Games, a Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yes. So if you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at tompodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. And that's it.
Yeah. When is Monarch Legacy of Monsters coming out here?
You want to watch that week by week?
November 17th. Is that this week?
I think that's this week.
Oh, we could watch that. I don't think I have Apple TV, whatever it's called nowadays. We could, Holden. We could watch. We could have a little.
I'd be down to do that. I guess you were pretty positive on the most recent trailer. So
on the first trailer more than the most recent. We could try it.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Sure.
There may be stuff coming. There may not.
At least the Hunger Games movie.
At least the
That'd be
Hunger
funny
Games
if that's
movie.
the one thing we don't do next week.
Well, I wouldn't put it past us, Holden. All right. That's the show. Have a great life. Adios, pantalones.
Love you.